So, hello and welcome to Man on the Match. This is episode 3 of our Football Rewind show. I'm joined again by Marcus and James on this week's show. How are we doing, lads?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Good stuff. And so this week on part 1, we're going to be talking about the Community Shield and whether or not it's a trophy, should people be allowed to celebrate it, etc. And then in part 2, we're going to be talking about the teams at the top saying they want 5 substitutes this season in the Premier League and whether or not it'd be a good idea to have a Super League. So anyway, starting with the Community Shield, we'll start with the actual game itself. Did Arsenal deserve to win it?
I think it could have gone one of either ways.
Yeah.
It was nothing special about the game. You know, nothing really spoke to say, yeah, that team should have won, this team should have won. It was just a classic pre-season friendly game. And in the end, Arsenal came out victors on penalties.
Overall, I actually did think Arsenal were look better across the board, really. Had some good chances as well. And obviously, Aubameyang scored a bit of a beauty. So, I reckon Arsenal probably did deserve to win.
Aubameyang's class in it, though. What a player to have.
Yeah, different, mate.
That was a great finish, weren't it, that goal?
They need to get him. They need to get him penned down, don't they?
Yeah, well, I think they're pretty sure he's going to stay now, aren't they, this season? I think that looks...
I think you would, though, if you're Aubameyang. We Arteta, he looks to be building a little something, doesn't he? So, I think he probably would.
So I'm a big fan of Arteta and what he's been doing since he's got there. I mean, he's really changed the way that team have started to play. I mean, at first, obviously it takes time for the level of integration that's needed, but if you look at the way that the team's playing now, and even David Luiz looking good in that game.
But the biggest thing for me since Arteta's come in is I found that there's a bit of fight about Arsenal now. Like, whenever I used to watch Arsenal play, back end of Wenger and under Unai Emery, they just looked so like they couldn't be bothered. Whenever they went behind and a lot of the time, even when they were winning, just looked lazy and like they couldn't be bothered. And now it seems to be a team that's like playing for the manager, playing for each other and working quite hard, and it's obviously paying off.
Yeah, there seems to be more of a framework, don't they? They all seem to know their roles, where I've never thought they did in the last few years, Arsenal.
No, they seem to be more disciplined.
I mean, he's worked under Pep Guardiola, obviously Arteta, and essentially that's his master of where he's learned or what he's learned from, and they have got an aspect of that about them. Like you say, everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. Obviously, yeah, it has taken time, but everyone seems to know what they need to be doing. They all seem to be working for each other as well. You look in the past with people like Ozil and Lacazette at some points, and they weren't really tracking and working for the team. But he seems to have got the whole team and essentially got the team that he wants to do it. If people haven't bought into that philosophy, they're just not playing, and you can see that as to why now people like Ozil and Lacazette aren't necessarily in and around the first team for the time being.
He summed up Arsenal for me in that period where they just weren't bothered. He was like the epitome of it. He just was so lazy.
Yeah,
and I feel like it just stemmed from him. He's like label of being one of the best players in the team, obviously the most expensive in terms of wages, and then just outwards from him, it was just laziness, and he was the worst for it. Hence why he's, like you say, nowhere near the team at the minute.
It must be irritating, mustn't it, for managers when you've got a player like that? Because he's got the quality, hasn't he? It's just attitude stinks a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I get this vibe from him where he's classic one of them where at the end of the day he's going on with 300k a week or something stupid, so it does not matter whether they.
I think it's more than that. I think it's more than that. I think
it probably is. Yeah, probably is.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it must really. I know Dyche once said something that his biggest bugbear is wasted talent, and that's happening with him, isn't it? Really, Ozil. It must be so frustrating. Every boy's dream, they say, don't want to play football, and he's just pissing about.
Yeah, again, it's you look back to when he was doing what he does best, Ozil, and he were unplayable. When he's on his A day, he can beat anyone.
I think he's not really his technique, but like the way he plays, feels quite lazy anyway. Just how relaxed he is, like little dinky balls over the top and little like relaxed passes and no look passes. But I think that's probably just how he is. But it sort of rubs off the pitch as well, maybe just with just not caring.
Yeah, he needs to put some more effort in, doesn't he? I think it's all right having the quality, but you need effort as well, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
So Liverpool obviously did get back into it, made it 1-1. Minamino, who's had a bit of a not a tough start, but a mixed start, I think, to his Liverpool career. He needed a settling in period, I think, didn't he? But a bit lucky, weren't they? We it dropped him, but he put it in the back of the net, didn't he? That's all that matters.
A bit of a scrappy goal, really. Salah did quite well actually to make some space, but then obviously bobbled around a little bit and
like pinball, weren't it? In that box.
Good finish into the corner.
What do we think of him? Do you think he'll have a better season next year?
I'm going to say I felt bad for Minamino when he came in last year because he's gone from being one of the star players for a team like Red Bull Salzburg, and then he's got into arguably the best team in Europe, if not the world. So it always was going to be a learning curve for him, and he sort of didn't hit the ground running as you'd have expected. He was more so.
I almost went past then.
Someone's house has just been demolished next door.
But like I say, he didn't really hit the ground running like you even expected him to, or if even wanted him to. And it sort of showed with people like Curtis Jones maybe getting more of a potential game time over someone like him. But like you say, it was a good finish in the end for him. When he came on, he seemed to be the bright spark for Liverpool to turn the game around, and that's the level of impact that we're looking for someone. And if he can kick on and like you say, bring that to the table more often this season, I don't see any reason as to why he can't go on. And
I just wonder if he'll get the chance this season.
Yeah, that's the only problem, isn't it? They've got so many quality players in that position.
Yeah, I mean, obviously similar things happened to Shaqiri. People forget that he's still on the books of Liverpool. He came in, like you say, he had a few good games here and there at the start, and then he's almost been cast aside. But I think with the level of demand that the games are going to be given this season, with the amount of Champions League, Cup games, Premier League games back to back, with how short the season's going to be, and then the World Cup, I think there are going to be more opportunities for him to come in and at least give some sort of a chance to give Minamino, what he needs to fly in that team. So I am hopeful for him in himself to go on and do that.
Be interesting to see whether that actually plays out, because I know Liverpool wanting to sign that Ismail Assar now, aren't they? Like right wing.
Yeah, apparently willing to pay, aren't they? 40 million, I think.
So if he 40 odd million for him. I know he's a young lad, but the options, man is starting left wing every time, isn't he? And then Salah obviously sometimes plays in the middle, up top, but then Firmino, so many players there. I can't see Minamino getting a solid chance, and then he's had a couple of chances, but not really shined, has he?
I don't think he's had enough. Really, he needs a good run of games, doesn't he?
Sometimes players sometimes players like that get the chance in a sort of a cup game or something else, and then do really well, and then sort of question whether they should be in the first team. But I don't really got that vibe from him yet.
Yeah, I'm a bit like Marcus, I feel a bit sorry for him. I think when he come in, I hope he gets a decent run, this season, because I've seen him a few times. Where it come from? Leipzig, right?
Yeah, Salzburg.
Sorry, I always get mixed up. Both red, but I saw him a few times, and he's a decent player, isn't he? I hope he gets a good run at Liverpool.
Did Liverpool actually have their eye on him before that game, where he just sort of was on fire against them, or not? Because I sort of didn't hear much about it, and then obviously Liverpool played them, and he was excellent, and then all of a sudden he signed for him, and it was like, I wonder if that was the game where they just thought, let's go.
I was going to say, well, he'd been doing it all season in the Champions League and obviously in the Austrian League, but you can't really talk too much about that. Him, Haaland, and then there were a Korean guy, I can't remember what he was called. They were the three aspects of what was, were shooting Salzburg as far as they were. I mean, I think, did they beat Liverpool in one of the games?
Yeah, well, they
did, yeah.
They were doing. I think that was the game actually, like you say, they did beat him and he scored. So they were obviously had an eye on him in that because they were in the group. So obviously, they were seeing what he was doing through the scouting reports more so than anything. So it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't any sort of, before the season, before the Champions League had come through, it was just one of them that popped up out of nowhere. And for the price that they got him for, I think something like 10 million or something like that. Like you say, they can't say no to that.
Yeah, and then sorry, James.
No, I was just going to say I thought that just want to mention that Saka for Arsenal. Thought he was great again. I think he looks really promising.
Class in him. Class player. He's got it.
Very good player.
So calm on the ball, and his passing's excellent as well. I know. What's it called? early on, and Nketiah missed a bit of a sitter from the middle of the box, and it was a great pass from Saka, just cutting it back between sort of about 3 defenders, really. He looks promising.
Yeah, I like him as well. Yeah,
the ball to Aubameyang, like you say, for the goal, it was top tier. I mean, the way that he shaped his body open to be able to ping it out, and it was almost like a curveball on it, with the way that the ball moved in air. It hit like an arrow, but it swiveled in air to go to him, and it was, a technique you don't see from many players. And the thing with him, he almost came out of nowhere. There were big talks about people like Reece Nelson, Emile Smith-Rowe before last season started, and if they could kick on, but there was nothing really about Bakary Saka. What's he called? Bakary Saka. Saka. But
he's a fullback, isn't he, originally?
Well, I don't think he is. I think he actually is a winger. But he played in a wing-back position last year because that's where he was able to fit, and they couldn't afford to not have him in the team. And because they were playing a 5-back system, he suited that role well with the energy that he's got and being able to, provide some sort of defensive capabilities and also get forward. Like I say, he almost came out of nowhere, and it's a credit to himself because, like you say, many people have just stuck their feet in the dirt and done nothing about it, but he's kicked on and shown as to why he can be the one to come out and overtake Smith-Rowe and Nelson, and he's the top of the bunch now, really.
Yeah, good player.
Yeah, he is a very good player. So then obviously penalties, bit of a lottery in it, but there were some good penalties. I
thought every single penalty was quality, apart from obviously Brewster smashes it on bar. But I was really impressed with the penalties actually. But I actually was going to ask you about that. Do you think the fact that there was no crowd there, sort of doing it that made it so much calmer? Like it was just
all waving their arms right behind goal like they do. You've got a good point there. I think that they must have felt more relaxed.
Did you see how relaxed those penalties were from every one of them?
Yeah, they must have been more relaxed without a crowd there, for definitely.
Maitland-Niles just sort of wandered up.
Slotted it away, didn't he?
I thought you were going to miss. I hate penalty run-ups like that.
I loved it.
Them. I like it after it's been done, but when you're watching it,
the speed of his walk-up was the same speed as his run-up for the goal. It was brilliant, that.
Nice. There's some great pens, but you've got a good point there. I didn't really think about that. No crowd. I bet it must have an impact, mustn't it? Stand.
Well, you know what it's like at the end of a game in a final or a semi-final, and you toss that coin for the home end or the away end. Everyone wants to be at that end because everyone's whistling and whizzing flags round and jumping around and that, and it's
doing everything.
That is horrible. So I think the fact there was nobody there watching them other than their teammates in opposition. I think that's why there was probably some good penalties. And I mean, Brewster's wasn't a bad penalty, was it? He got a good connection on it, and it just a little bit too high. It wasn't like a
bit unlucky, weren't it? It weren't like a crap penalty, really.
No. But yeah, some good pens, and obviously, one slip up and that's it.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Curtis Jones after the penalty shoot had been done. Because, I mean, I've seen it on Twitter a lot, and a lot of people have been calling that if Henderson's injured for the game, then for the opening game against Leeds, then they should give him the captaincy if he starts, because he were giving the keeper a bit of jip when he walked up.
Oh, but keeper weren't it? Martinez were giving
Martinez,
game.
There were a bit of a banter going on between them two, but then also at the end, when the final penalty went in, the first thing he did was went and consoled Brewster. Like I say, you do look for that from a captain to lead from the front, and he did do that. And what is he, 19, 20-year-old now? It takes a lot for a player like that to have them attributes at this age. So, like I say, I was really impressed with him.
I thought that was funny from Martinez actually, because I didn't expect it. Because he's got this sort of like nice guy sort of aura about him at the minute with his sort of Arsenal legacy and all this. And every time someone stepped up for a penalty, he's laughing at him. Shaking his head and saying all sorts to him. So I thought it was quite funny actually from him. And funnily enough, he didn't save a single one. But
quick word on him though as well. We have to mention Martis, because how well's he done since coming in? I mean, Leno were one of their better players, weren't he, before he got injured? But he's come in and fair play to him. He took that shirt on, hasn't
he? Yeah, I mean, a lot of Arsenal fans aren't wanting him to go. He's another one that's been cast astray. I mean, he was playing for Reading in the Championship 3 or 4 years ago, and he's not really had a look in whatsoever at that club. And like you said, for one reason or another, had no backup keeper other than him in there. He's come in after Maupay and Leno had that incident that left him out with a shoulder injury, and they've not really looked back since. And like you say, there's been questions as to whether he should be going on and taking that number 1 shirt from there on.
Yeah, another thing, just linked to the penalties and the crowd again. It'd be interesting to see how he is with a crowd, won't it? Goalkeeper. I always think goalkeepers is one of them
very
as well.
True, yeah.
Yeah,
it might be different.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that because, like you say, Martinez, he's not really played in an Arsenal shirt with a crowd there. So, like you said, definitely he might react differently, and it could go downhill, and that might be as to why he didn't do well. He might
makes you question like how many keepers out there that are top class or have so much potential that just haven't got the chance to show that they do.
Yeah, it's hard keepers because you can only pick one.
If Leno doesn't get injured and Martinez doesn't come in, he probably don't get a chance to show how good he's been.
No. I don't even think he were playing in cups.
No.
No, I don't think he will, really.
I mean, usually you'll have at least a cup keeper and a league keeper, but even in that aspect, he was given no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, so it's always a tricky one, keepers now, because start of the season, Leno, or whenever, I don't know when Leno's due back, but Leno gets back, and then you've got that question where you've got a keeper that's worth a lot more than Martinez, or that you've paid for. Do you give Leno it back, or do you keep Martinez in? And
I was going to say, literally before we started this, there's apparently Schalke are interested in signing that Martinez.
Really?
There'll be a few after him now.
Rumours of Villa being after him as well. But again, I think for a keeper of the quality that he showed, I think, there should be no reason as to why he's not aiming for a team that are in Europa League. Because, like you say, I mean, since he's been there, he's probably been one of Arsenal's, if not Arsenal's best player since the lockdown came back and football started.
Yeah, it'd be tough though because Leno were doing well, weren't he? Really? Yeah, I thought he was one of the better players for Arsenal last season, but it's gonna be a tough call. That
be interesting to see how he gets on. Because I think he probably it depends if he goes out, but if he stays, he will probably start the season, won't he? I'll be interested to see how he'll cope if he makes an error, how he comes back from that. Because he's not. Yeah. I don't recall him making any sort of big mistakes so far.
No, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
So I'll be interested to see how he copes with that. Because like we were talking about that the other week, weren't we, Dom? About sort of keepers and struggling. And sort of getting out of that rut, really. So yeah, I've been interested.
They always say, don't they? If keeper makes a mistake, it usually ends in a goal. The other team, so it's a lot harder to come back from than you make a mistake in midfield. You've got the defence behind you, aren't you? But
yeah.
So yeah, on that Community Shield win then. Do we think it's a trophy, so to speak? Do you think you can count it as an honour to start with?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of them where if you lose that competition, you're probably a bit miffed, but you're not distraught. But if you win it, I think you're buzzing with it. I think, especially Arsenal beating Liverpool, obviously, really good team. I think you got to be over the moon if you're an Arsenal fan. I think you're buzzing with that, but I can see why people, because it does feel a bit like a friendly, and there's not much of a sort of not much of a feel to it really. But again, I still think it counts as a trophy, and I think you can shout about it as well. They've beat a real good side, one of the best the Premier League's seen. So yeah.
What are you thinking, Marcus? Lad?
Not so much. Not so much.
No.
Like, it's not to say that it's worth nothing, it should be treated as a pre-season friendly and that's that. But I've always seen it as a way for clubs to integrate new signings, new philosophies. I've never seen it as something that you've earned the chance to be there. It's one of the best things that can happen. Obviously, it's similar in the way that the UEFA Super Cup works, with obviously 2 competitions. You win that, you go to that. But with it being FA Cup and Premier League, like I say, it's obviously Premier League and FA Cup, big competitions. You've done well to win them, but I just don't think that it's as major of an honour as like an FA Cup or like a Premier League. Maybe on the same par as League Cup. Again, I don't think much of the League Cup, so much so that obviously clubs don't either, given the thoughts of scrapping it in recent years. Again, I think it's just one of them that it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. If you win it, you've loved winning it because it's another piece of silverware in the cabinet. If you've lost it, well, what a shame that is. You didn't really want it in the end anyway.
And that's all.
I agree with that.
I think that's probably all to do with the fact that you're not going through 5 or 6 rounds to win it.
Yeah,
you're playing one game, and I think another thing's probably the timing of it. And I know it can't really be any other time because it needs to be after the Premier League is finished and then the FA Cup. So I think it has like a pre-season feel to it because it's coming just before the new season. Whereas I think if you sort of attached it more to, because it is attached to the previous season, isn't it? Really, you know, I know it's not. You know, you're playing the teams that were best that year, and I think because it feels attached to the new season, it feels like a pre-season game. It doesn't feel like it's coming at the end of last season. It feels like it's coming at the start of this one, and I think that probably takes away from it a little bit because it feels like a pre-season friendly.
Yeah, I didn't think that this year as well with there being no fans there. I think that added more to the fact of it's not really something to shout out about because there was nothing to it. You know, there were no real celebrations. There were no real atmosphere to the game. Obviously, you know, you watch it, you've got the BT added support. But them kind of games, them kind of finals and stuff like that, there's that bit of added atmosphere to games. It's not just like a general Newcastle versus Burnley, Chelsea versus West Ham type games. There's usually more atmosphere to them kind of games. And when you're watching them, you usually expect that. And with it being, you know, a game where you win the game, you win a cup, that didn't have that aspect to it at all.
That's true. I think if that stadium is full with Liverpool and Arsenal fans, I think it has a massive feel to it. Really.
Yeah,
I know. When we were sort of in the chat earlier asking about our feelings on this, I was thinking, just sort of put myself in their shoes, and I thought if I was there and we just beat Premier League champions, I'd be absolutely, you know, all over the place. I'd be boozing all night, you know. So
yeah, that's another question, isn't it? In terms of AFTV, obviously Arsenal Fan TV, everybody's mocking them on Twitter because they all watch the game together. I guess you've seen the video. They're all celebrating at full time when they've won and they're celebrating Aubameyang's goal and things. And I think I'm a bit with Marcus in terms of, I think I wouldn't like it be, you know, people saying, oh, we've won the treble. I think Man United did it, didn't they? Mourinho said it. I don't know if you can really include it. But in terms of them celebrating, I don't know what's wrong with that. You know, they can celebrate, can't they, if they want? I mean, I think we also Fan TV, if they all sat there and didn't do anything to the goal.
Nobody would just sit there and not do anything.
No, but if they had done that, then you'd get people on Twitter saying, well, why aren't they celebrating it? I think it's a bit of, they can't win, can they, really?
Everyone's out for a bit of a laugh at Arsenal Fan TV, aren't they?
Yeah.
It could be any club had a sort of fan TV like that. Everyone would be taking the mick because that's football Twitter and football sort of media side of things. So, but I mean, if you're in a room full of your mates and that, or people you know, and you had a couple of beers and your team's just won Community Shield, you're going to
celebrate, aren't you?
Be celebrating.
Yeah. I don't know why everyone. I don't know why.
Especially winning it on pens because that's quite intense.
Well, even Aubameyang's goal as well. What a goal that was! Of course, you're not going to just sit there, are you? And just say, "Oh, brilliant, we scored."
Maybe it's a bit different for us not supporting like a super club, really. I think if City win that, they probably maybe celebrations are a bit more relaxed. Because it's sort of just like, it's another one.
Big thing for Arsenal, though, because obviously Liverpool just won the Premier League by 18 points, haven't they? So I think they've got I didn't have an issue with them celebrating. As well. I don't know why.
I think to me as well, it's more than just, like you say, a Community Shield. I know that obviously a lot of Arsenal fans, probably for the last decade, have felt that their team have been running to the ground, they've been underachieving. Again, I have opinions on that are completely different compared to other teams, but obviously in the aspect of a team like Arsenal, you know, where you look back 16 years ago and they were going unbeaten in the Premier League, they do feel like the club has just gone downhill. And since Arteta's come in, it's like you say, it's a rebuilding process, and for them to win the FA Cup and then to go and win arguably the best ever Premier League champions within the space of 3 months after that, you know, you every right to go and celebrate the way in which they did. And like you say, even if you aren't a fan of a top six club or whatever you want to call it in that manner, like I said, at the end of the day, it's a piece of silverware. And like I said, that's where it comes to the fact of, if you win it, you're loving it. If you don't, it's just a trophy that you're not fussed about if it goes in your cabinet or not. So, like I said, nothing against the way that the AFTV did celebrate it.
No, same. I didn't understand why people were taking... No. Well, like you said, James, people just take mick, don't they? But...
especially with AFTV. I think they're an easy scapegoat nowadays. Just go and jump on.
They are an easy target, aren't they?
They are, but I thought I don't know why they were wrong with that. People were saying it of other games they had as well, weren't they? They were saying why you celebrating this and that, and team scored a goal, you're going to celebrate, aren't you? And like you said, James, exactly. you were your mates,
Well, you should have seen me when
Yeah.
Wood scored that penalty for a draw against Wolves. You'd have thought league, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and that were for a point.
yeah, I'm not keen on that when they give fan channel stick, like you say, whoever it is, for celebrating a goal. I don't really know what's wrong with that. The team just scored.
I do like a. No, go on.
No, I'm just going to say what Marcus was on about as well about them last few years. They've been tanked, Arsenal, haven't they, by some of these teams. Liverpool have battered them time and time again. So to beat them, they probably see that as quite a landmark for them and gives them confidence, more of a confidence boost going into next season.
Well, I think I agree with you, Marcus. I think it is. I would probably not use the term Mickey Mouse Cup, but in terms of importance, there is definitely more important cups, or bigger cups, and bigger things to win. But I think it is probably, the argument is that it's quite important for sort of a winning mentality and a sort of confidence for the team going into the new season. Really, I think that's the important aspect of it. Really, if you're wanting to go into a new season, you want to win everything you can. I think that's probably a good thing for Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely. If you have a good pre-season, I know friendlies aren't. We don't know if this is a friendly. We're discussing, aren't we? But it's sort of the last of the friendlies, isn't it? You want to go into the season with confidence. I think it'll do Arsenal good, that, and I think they'll be happy to see they can beat these teams. And Arteta might use that as a confidence boost as well for future games against other teams in the top six.
Yeah, I think on the opposite side of that as well, I think that could affect Liverpool more than people think as well.
It could.
Obviously, the way in which that they just absolutely dominated the season last year, and then for them to go into essentially, because technically that is the beginning of the new season, is the Community Shield, like you said, there's that cut-off point. Is it last season? Is it this season? But for them to go in and then lose a game, even if it was on penalties, to a team, like you said, they've been absolutely dominating for the past 3-4 years, it could be demoralising for the team. So obviously it'd be good to see that they fight back and either do fair on the opening game of the season against Leeds.
Yeah, I don't think sort of the confidence for a team that's just unbeaten is massive, and I think for Arsenal they're probably going to a game against Liverpool normally and think, yeah, this is it's the usual. We're going to get trounced here, and so they sort of go into it thinking this is going to be tough. And now they know they've beat them this season. They'll be probably looking forward to playing them again, seeing what they can do.
Yeah, might be a big mentality shift, but we'll soon find out when the season begins. So we'll leave it there for part one then. We're back with part two soon, where we're going to talk about the potential European Super League that people are wanting. So we'll see you soon.